Hey everyone, this is Elizabeth, your History 100 instructor, and I am so happy to have you join me today. I just wanted to kind of go over your potential presentation topics and how to develop a research question for them, and what's the difference between, say, a research paper, an analytical paper, and a descriptive paper, because we're working on analytical or research papers here. So, how to develop research questions? I think a lot of times we've gotten very used to answering questions like, when did this happen? Who was there? What was the event like? Where we can describe our answers, and they're all based on accepted facts that we all agree on. But for research papers, for analytical papers, we want to look for the argument. We want to look for the debate. We want to know where people disagree. Okay, we all agree, for example, when the Declaration of Independence was signed, which is funny because it's actually signed July 2nd, 1776, but we didn't publicize that until July 4th, which is why we have that. So it's kind of amusing in my head right now that I chose that anecdote. But so we all agree on when it was signed, but then we have arguments on why it was signed. Why were some things included and not others? And all of those, like, we know who wrote it, but why did they make certain decisions on what to include? So we want the debate. I am less interested in, for this course, we are all less interested in what we kind of all know and agree on, and we want to know what people are arguing about. So we want to ask the how or why, but what's also really important as we work through this is to be willing to revise. As we do more and more research and learn more and more on our topic, it might turn out that there's a different debate we're interested in, or that what we thought was a debate actually has a pretty accepted answer, and maybe we need to look into something else. So really be willing to do that. All right. So first suggested topic is the Constitution. And the Constitution, this is for of the Constitution of the United States. It replaced the Articles of Confederation. These are the details that we largely agree on. Replace the Articles of Confederation. There was a constitutional convention that met in 1787, but it wasn't fully ratified until 1790. And there were two sides going into it: the Federalists, who wanted a strong federal government, and the Anti Federalists, who wanted most power to remain with the states. So, those are our accepted facts about the Constitution. So, what are the types of questions we might want to ask? Okay, why did we decide that we needed a constitution? What was wrong with the Articles of Confederation? What were some of the big disagreements? Why did we have Federalists and Anti-Federalists? Why were they arguing about federal power versus state power? Why do we have a Bill of Rights? That got added on in the end. So why did that show up? Has the Constitution been changed? And if it has, why? Why have we changed it? And who decides what the Constitution means today? And why do they get to decide what the Constitution means today? Those are all really good, big questions that we debate a lot. And in fact, you are probably familiar with some of these debates, like when we talk about who decides what the Constitution means, there are people who are originalists and there are people who believe in living constitutions. Well, why do they differ? And what does this difference mean, right? Like, how does this change how they view the Constitution? Okay, Mao Zedong. Again, here's the accepted facts about him. Born in 1893, he was the communist ruler of China from 1949 to 1976. He oversaw events like the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution. That's kind of like, yes, that is our boilerplate. We know him. That's what he did. Questions. Why did people support him? So I already said what were the major events of his leadership, but I haven't gone into like full detail. So give me some more about them and how they impacted China. What about, does everyone agree on his legacy? Did everyone support Mao? Does everyone support Mao? How do people feel about who Chairman Mao was? What was his impact? How did he change China? What is China like now because of Chairman Mao? And then what is Maoism? So we talk a lot. So I mentioned that he was the communist head, right? And we've talked about, or you have probably heard about communism. And then there's also Marxism and Leninism, which are forms of communism. And he had Maoism. So how is that different? Is it different? In what ways is it similar? And in what ways is it different from, say, Marxism, Leninism, or just straight communism? Those are good questions. Apartheid. Okay, it existed in South Africa from 1948 to the 1990s, and it was a legal segregation of whites and non-whites, but it actually broke it down even further, where you would have whites, you would have people who were referred to as colored, and you would have people who were referred to as black, and that was literally dependent on your skin tone. A lot of the people who were referred to as colored were biracial, which was actually illegal. If anybody is a fan of Trevor Noah, on the Late Show, he wrote a memoir about his life because when he was born, he was illegal because he's half white and half black. And so that was illegal. But also, people who lived under the name of colored had slightly more rights than people who were deemed black, according to apartheid. And so they were also immigrants from places like India. And that kind of fed into this whole thing. So it's a legal segregation where everybody is marked according to your skin tone, which means in the same family, people can be different legal definitions. One of the most famous people when we talk about apartheid, talking about ending apartheid, is, of course, Nelson Mandela, who spent a long time in jail and then became the president of South Africa in 1994. And I've included this sign because it's in English and it's in Dutch, and it's just basically saying this is for white people, right? This has been reserved for people who are legally deemed to be white. So that's kind of what apartheid is. And now, good questions. Well, why did it start? But why did it end? And what is the impact? Is South Africa still having an impact of apartheid? Probably, yes. All right, next steps. What do you need to do from here? I am including in this announcement Salem Press links to short pieces on the Constitution, Chairman Mao, and apartheid. And so you should kind of just read them, glance over them, look up in the Shapiro Library, try to find a source that talks about these that you can look into. Preferably a peer-reviewed source is where you're going to want to go, because it's going to be those that start making arguments, that start giving you an idea into the debates. After you've done that, once you feel comfortable that you have a general knowledge about your topic, choose one of them. And then start developing a research question. But remember, you want to be able to revise that question. You're not married to that question. That question is going to change over time, and that's okay. That's what historians do. When you are presented with information, you modify what you are doing. All right, everyone. Good to talk to you. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, happy historianing. That's a word I'm making.